Hello and welcome to another lecture of CSC 370. Last week you started a new chapter, chapter 10. Today we will continue with this chapter. In chapter 10 you have looked at the informal guidelines to ensure that your database schema is a good design. Today we will look at the formal measures or formal guidelines which ensure that your relational design or schema is uh, a good one, or it is good enough. So to understand these formal measures we have to understand functional dependency first. So functional dependency is basically constraints that are derived from the meaning and interrelationships between different attributes in a table. Okay, so these functional dependencies are derived from your real world knowledge um, of the attributes that are represented in a relation or in a table. So if I say that a set of attributes X functionally determines a set of attribute Y, then the value of X will determine a unique value of Y. So whenever I say a set of attribute X determines a set of attribute Y, I can represent it using this symbol or this notation where X determines Y. So X can be one attribute or a set of attributes. Similarly, Y can also be a set of attributes or a single attribute. So X determines Y. This means that Y is functionally dependent on X. Now let's look at an example to understand what this actually means. So whenever we say that X determines Y, it means that if in a table, if we have two columns X and Y, or set of columns X and set of columns Y, and in any row if I have value x1 and let's say the value for Y is y1, then if the value of X repeats anywhere here, let's say I have a lot of value for X and then somewhere I have again x1, in that case the value of Y should also be y1. It cannot be anything else. So because Y is functionally dependent on X, it means that if the value of X is same in any row, then the value of Y should be also same in those rows. Now let's look at a real example to understand what this means. So if we have an employee table in your office database, so we have employees, um, actually okay, so we have employees, and the employees have a social security number which is the same as the national ID that we have in Bangladesh. Okay, so they also have a name. So here if you see, the functional dependency is described as social security number determines the employee name. So employee name is dependent on the social security number. So if somebody has a social security number of 123 and their name is A, and if this social security number is repeated somewhere here, let's say after a lot of data we repeat this social security number 123, then the name for this social security number must be A, because the same social security number or the same national ID cannot belong to multiple people. Similarly, if you consider your student ID and name, so if the student ID repeats here, let's say student ID 1 and student ID 1, these IDs repeat, then the names will also be the same. So if the student ID 1 has name um, N, then again if student ID 1 is repeated in this table, then their name should also be N, because it has to be the same person, because name is dependent on the ID. Okay, so that's what the first one means. Similarly, if we look at the second example, project number determines the project name and location. So let's say we have a project table. So in the project table we have the project number, so P number, we have the name of the project, and we have the location. Okay, so the project number, let's say project number 1, will determine that what would be the name of that project, because we have already fixed what the name of the project number should be. So it should be, let's say, project X. Okay, okay, and the location is, let's say, Mohakali. Okay, so the location is Mohakali. So if I repeat the project number again here, let's say the project number 1 is repeated, then the name should definitely be X, because project number 1, if it has value X and Mohakali here, it cannot have a different name and location in this same place. However, these actually do not determine the project number. Similarly, the employee name does not determine the social security number. So this is dependent on social security number. However, social security number is not dependent on employee name, because let's say for in case of my name is Najifa. So I have a employee ID. So my employee ID will actually determine my name, because that ID will always um, for for my ID I will always have the same name. However, other people might also have my name, right, similar name, which is Najifa, and but they will have different ID. So name is actually not determining the ID, but ID is always determining the name. That's why name is dependent on ID, but ID is not dependent on name. Similarly, the project name or even the project location, in the same location we can have multiple projects. So we cannot actually determine the project number using the location. However, we can determine the location and the name using the number, because for the same number, the name and location will always be the same. Here it says that the social security number and project number together they determine how many hours the employee has worked. Okay, so let's say employee number 1 works on project X for 5 hours. So whenever I see project X and 1, social security number 1, I can say that the number of hours is 5. I cannot only use the social security number, because employee 1 can also work on project Y for a different amount of hours, let's say 3 hours. So I cannot use just the project number to determine how many hours someone will work, and I cannot use just the employee ID to determine how many hours this person will work, because they also work on other projects. So I will need both the social security number and project number to determine how many hours a person works on a particular project. So this is basically known as functional dependency. Functional dependency will often be given to you, and sometimes you have to derive them from your understanding of the real world scenario. By default, all attributes are functionally dependent on the primary key. So all tables will have a primary key, and all attributes are usually functionally dependent on the primary key. So if I had a lot of attributes, let's say name, then I had address, then I had age, and so on, all of these attributes, if social security number was my primary key, then all of these attributes such as address, then let's say salary, age, all of these things will be dependent on the social security number, and it would be like this, that social security number determines the employee name and their address and their salary. Okay, so again, by default all attributes depend on the primary key, but there can be some other dependencies or functional dependencies other than on primary key, on something else. So now we will learn about normalization. So normalization is basically a process of breaking down bad schema designs into smaller tables or smaller relations. Relations means tables. into smaller tables so that your design becomes better. So if you break down bad uh, tables or bad table designs into smaller tables to make your design better, then that process is known as normalizations. And to do normalization, you will require functional dependencies and the knowledge of functional dependency to uh, perform normalization on any table design or any schema. So there are different normal forms. So the normal forms actually determine how good your table is at this point. So uh, each normal form has some conditions, and if your database design or your database schema meets those conditions, then you can say that your schema is in that particular normal form. So there's the 1NF, the first normal form. By default, all schema, relational schema that you have designed so far should be in 1NF. We will see what the conditions are to be in 1NF. This is basically the definition of relational database. So by default, everything should already be in 1NF. Then there are other higher level normal forms. So there's 2NF. So anything, if it has to be in the second normal form or 2NF, it must be in 1NF, and then it should also fulfill the conditions of 2NF. There's 3NF, BCNF, and 4NF, 5NF, and so on. So in our syllabus, we will learn up to 3NF. Okay, so we'll learn what 1NF or the first normal form means, and then we will learn how to convert a schema into 2NF and 3NF. Okay, so the higher level of normal form you reach, the better your design is. Okay, so again, we need the functional dependency concept to normalize a relational schema, and we, after normalization, we can put it in the first normal form or second normal form or third normal form or so on, and the higher normal form we achieve, the better our design will be. So let's look at the what the first. Okay, so before we look at normal forms, there are some terms that you should be familiar with. You should be familiar with super key. It was explained um, in a previous lecture, so I'm not going through this again. Please make sure that you understand this. You should also understand the idea of candidate key. It's basically if your schema or if your table has more than one key, then each of them can be a candidate key, and you will choose one of those candidate keys as the primary key, and the rest of them will be known as secondary key. Um, a prime attribute is a member of some candidate key. So if you have many candidate keys, your prime attribute would be a member of that key. So key can be actually a set of attributes. So let's say I have a key with attribute or columns A and B. So A is a prime attribute and B is also a prime attribute because they are members of a key, candidate key. And non-prime attributes are other attributes which are not member of any candidate key. So these are some terms that you might come across in whenever we are discussing normalization. So it's important to understand these terms so that when we come across them, it's clear. So now we will discuss the different normal forms, and we will see how we can convert a bad design or a bad table into a higher level normal form. In our syllabus, as we said, we will learn up to third normal form. So let's continue in the next video.